Hi, I'm going to be trying to persuade you as to why student athletes should be paid for their services. My first point is that students basically already have full-time jobs in the sport that they've chosen to play for their university. And I have this graphic here that kind of supports that fact. So this is a rough estimate of the way that student athletes will usually divide their hours per week. So you see there's about 56 hours of time dedicated to just sleep, and about 40 hours dedicated to free time, about another 40 hours dedicated to academics, and then 33 hours per week dedicated to their athletics. And I have this article here from Lynn O'Shaughnessy of CBS News that talks about Division I baseball players. Now they'll spend about 31.7 hours per week on schoolwork and about 42.1 hours a week on baseball when they're in season. Now this is just Division I baseball. This doesn't represent the kind of rigorous schedule for all college sports, but it's still a pretty good indication of just how many hours per week some student athletes will spend purely just practicing or traveling or in game. There's another issue also that lies with coaching. That's my next point. The fact that coaches are paid based off of the performance of players. And this comes from an article from NCSA. And basically there's a set limit on how many hours per week student athletes can train and practice on an organized team basis. But many coaches will push their players to play or to practice over that set time because they have to get the most out of their players because they need to get paid. And this also means that they're keeping students away from their academics, and unfortunately this is a big reason why a lot of student athletes' grades suffer. Then there's the argument of student athletes receiving scholarships. Well, they shouldn't be paid if they're receiving scholarships, but that doesn't include smaller things like snacks and toothbrushes and shampoo and conditioner, basic essentials, things like that. And this comes from an article from the Pendulum for Elon University. They say that it's hard for many student athletes just to go out and get a bite from a fast food restaurant. They say they have a lot of other things paid for, like room and board, things like that, but they don't have a basic way to get pocket change to buy the essentials. And then you have to consider the massive collegiate sports events like March Madness and the college football playoff that take student athletes and players away from classes and their schoolwork for days, even weeks. These are just these are the big examples, the Division I examples of students being taken away from their academics, but this is really the case for all student athletes, Division I, II, III. There's tournaments all over the country for every division, and they're all taken away from their schoolwork, and they have to make that up at some point. So this is just another example of why I think student athletes probably should see some compensation, as well as the fact that the NCAA sees huge amounts of revenue flowing in from events like this, and the people up top get paid, the coaches get paid, but the ones laying the groundwork for these events, the players, the student athletes, they're not seeing a dime of this revenue. And it's for reasons like that I think student athletes should at least be given some kind of compensation aside from just scholarships. This has been a topic of conversation for a long time, and decades really, and I think it's time that student athletes started seeing some revenue. Thank you.